Good morning. I'd like to call the Brookings County Commission meeting Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 3 on the agenda is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. There is a 5-minute time limit per person. Anyone wanting to speak during this agenda item must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. No commission action will be taken during this agenda item, and any requested action item may be scheduled for a future meeting. We do have one individual. Invite Janae White. Come forward, please. To introduce yourself and then go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Janae White. I live in Aurora. I'm here today to talk about the pipeline. My main purpose today is to talk about the safety of it and adding ordinances to Brookings County. I've lived in Aurora here now for 2 years. I've been from South Dakota my whole life. I got my bachelor's degree at SDSU. Prior to that, I lived in Moody County. Been to many Moody County commissioner meetings. This is my first one. I've made a phone call to every one of you regarding this pipeline. I had a nice conversation with Larry and Kelly, and I also talked briefly to Ryan. I did not get a return phone call from Mike or Sean, and I'm not for sure why that is. But as a taxpayer, I would really appreciate a phone call back. If a taxpayer of Brookings County has some questions, it's really nice to have a county commissioner call us back. I started researching this pipeline 2 years ago when I got the letter from Navigator. So I've done a lot of research, and when I got the letter from Navigator, it just sent a red flag to me, and our whole neighborhood was shocked by this pipeline going in. Right away, when I called the Navigator, he said, well, we have to send you a letter because of the potential problems for this pipeline. So right away, I started thinking, what is going on in the backyards of Aurora, South Dakota? So in the meantime, obviously, Navigator is no longer here, and now it's Summit. I don't see any benefits coming from my point of view, especially to Aurora. As you guys know, Summit is a profit company that wishes to route a highly pressurized CO2 pipeline through Brookings County. It's not safe for residents. It's invisible, odorless, deadly. Water usage could be a problem. I'm not an expert in water, but talking to people, they said that there's some issues with water. And again, I can't speak to that, but that's something that I'm asking you guys to research on the water usage. I was actually told by the pipeline person when I called him that they will take out-of-state crews to develop this pipeline. So no jobs will be created locally or in our state. That came from his mouth. And I'm not for sure, did any of you guys go to the meeting in Madison on August 7th? Nobody must have went. So let me reiterate some of the things that was said there. So this is a geologist and pipeline expert, Tim Kenyon. He gave an informative, unbiased presentation on the dangers of pipelines, specifically CO2 pipelines. And I'm going to quote some of his quotes. Pipelines leak, they just do. They leak because they aren't buried deep enough. They leak because they corrode. They leak because of traffic accidents. They leak because there's an installation defect. Nothing we build is perfect. They leak because farmers hit them with their plows. Construction workers hit them all the time. And I have a good example of some pipelines because Aurora, not sure if you guys are aware that Aurora right now is going through a huge sewer redevelopment. They've hit our water line 2 or 3 times in Aurora, so we've been without water. So again, just another example of the possibilities of that happening. It says here, a release of the pipeline will result in the entire emptying of that pipeline. For 20 miles of 24-inch pipeline, that 2.7 million gallons for 20 miles of 24-inch pipeline, 2.7 million gallons of liquid CO2 would be released. Sometime, if you have some time, look up. It's called Sarsha, Mississippi, S-A-T-A-R-T-I-A, Mississippi. There was a leak down there. 40 were taken to the hospital. Nobody died, but it was major, very major down there. The town at that point was about a mile away. That's why they think that there wasn't any deaths. And I'm just here to say, I'm not going to say it's going to leak, but I'm saying the consequences of release are serious enough to assume that it's going to happen and that we in Brookings County have to be prepared. You know, I've driven 1,000,000 miles in my car in a lifetime. I've never worn a seatbelt, but every time I put it in my car. And I've got to be ready. We all have to be ready. I'm ready with my seatbelt in case if there's a car accident, and Brookings County has to be ready. And so I'm asking that to try to put in some sort of setbacks, something to protect us. Moody County has already done that. I gave you a copy of their ordinances.
You have 1 minute, wrap it up.
What?
1 minute to wrap it up.
Okay. Your job is to protect the citizens of Brookings County. Please protect us. Please protect us. I know that you work with the zoning board. I know you work with Bob Hill, but your lack of action is not okay. Your job here is to protect us. And please protect us before that pipeline goes in. We need to have some ordinances in place. You can't wait. If we wait, it's too late. So I'm begging you to please look at this. Please look at this and to keep us safe and to put in some setbacks or something to protect us. And that's why we count on you. As we voted all of you in, we count on you to protect us. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments, additions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 5 is consent agenda items. Do I have a motion? It includes the minutes, travel and education requests, personnel action notices, cellular authorizations, human services report. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Vanderwall. Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to routine and business is approval of the claims. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number B is department head reports. Sheriff?
Good morning.
Morning, Sheriff. Morning.
I don't have a report for you this morning because of the holiday, and Friday was busy, and I told we were down to one in the office, and I said, we'll have a double one next time. Anyway, presently have 60 in jail. And it's been running in the 50s, in the 60s the last couple of weeks. Last week, we've had 2 weekends of SDSU opening. I'm not going to blame it's all SDSU, but the first weekend we had 36 come to jail from Friday to Sunday morning. A lot of them were I call catch and releases. And then this last weekend, we probably had close to 20. So it's been a busy couple weekends. A lot of DWIs, you know, and you might think, okay, is there more DWIs out there, or are we just picking up more? And I think it probably has to do with law enforcement recognizing the drunk driver. I don't know if there's more out there. The police department had a couple officers recognized from the MAD group, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you know, for their efforts of picking DUIs up. So I think maybe we focus a little more on the drunk driver, and that's why we're seeing a lot of drunk driving arrests. And Dan maybe can address that a little bit too, but there's other things going on. We're busy, so if we're busy, Dan's office is busy. There's some stuff coming around the corner too. So we try to, when Dan has indictments, we try to get those right away. I think he had 6 last week, I believe, and we have 4 of those. One's in prison and one's in Minnesota, but I think we got the high-profile ones with the warrants and so forth. Guys have been busy too out on the road. Just deer accidents keep. Think now it's going to be hunting again. I don't think they've slowed down any over the summer. Also, I had a member from Myers Development. Myers Development is on the west side of River Ridge, and it butts against Western Avenue, right across from the trailer court. And I guess they went into a road district, which I was not aware of that they went into a road district, which is fine. But also now they want to change the speed limit. They want to have a speed limit ordinance, which they're going through their attorney, which is Steve Brightsma. So there's 25 houses up in that area. And of course, now guess what? They want law enforcement to patrol that area. So it's in the buffer area. It's in the 1 mile buffer. You know, I am going to work with the city police to see if we can work out something with the 1 mile buffer, because we get a lot of calls within that 1 mile buffer. You know, a lot of times my guy's in Elkton and he has to come across, you know, to answer something, and I am going to work with the chief. And I had mentioned it to him, but we haven't just got together and see if, and a lot of times if we request them to come help us, they come on mutual aid. That's not an issue, but you know, maybe we can work something out on that 1 mile buffer also a little more. But they're good about helping us in that 1 mile buffer, especially on domestics and things like that. So other than that, I guess unless you guys have some questions. It's back to school. And the rural schools have been going. Today was Brookings. School resource officers already been busy with incidences, I think, in all the schools. Also, one of the programs, and I'm copying this from the city police. The city police for the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, have did what they call coffee with the badges every month at Camelot School. And I suggested with my school resource officer to check with Elkton and Volga and see if they'd like to have a breakfast with the deputies. And so now every other month, we'll go 1 month at Elkton and 1 month at the other month at Volga and have breakfast with the kids and stuff. So, you know, we patrol their towns, so maybe it's good to keep us familiarized and stuff. So I think that'll be a good program. So, but again, I copied that from the city. City's been doing that for 2 or 3 years. And a lot of times my guys, I always want my school resource officer to go to the city one. The rest of us maybe not get to every one, but I want my school resource officer to go to the one in the city too. So other than that, otherwise we're keeping busy, we're plugging away. So thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
Good morning. I didn't think I had anything, but state auditors are starting this week on the audit. 2 new people. They will be located up on 2nd floor in the conference room back behind in Stacy's area. So if you have anything you want them to look at, feel free to stop in. You can always stop in and talk to them, or just let me know and I can get the message to them.
Okay. Thank you. Bob?
Good morning, Commissioner. I passed out a staff report through the mail, and the only thing that I did not put on there after August 28th is on Thursday, me and Richard's going up to Buffalo Ridge 2 to do a short tabletop exercise and meet with their emergency management type people, just to look over the Buffalo Ridge 2 and their safety plans. What I'd like to look at today is discuss, obviously this morning you had a citizen speak about pipeline and that the commission hasn't done anything about it. I would almost have to beg to differ. In 2009, Brookings County passed a transmission pipeline risk reduction overlay district. It's in our zoning ordinance online, and anyone's welcome to it. And in that particular ordinance, the first part of the ordinance addresses natural gas, because that's all we got right now. But the CO2 that they're referring to coming in, that's actually on page 4.07-7, and it talks about liquid pipelines. There's two types of pipelines. There's natural gas pipelines, or the gas type pipelines, and then there's the liquid or the hazardous materials pipeline, which is considered liquid pipelines. And our ordinance, even though we don't have it in the county at this time, we do go through the steps on what we have to do to permit them. And the ordinance states point blank, we would determine the appropriate planning zone. In Brookings County, we've got what's known as a planning zone and then a consultation zone. A planning zone, let me make sure I don't confuse myself. A planning zone is an area around a transmission pipeline, and when I say transmission pipeline, I'm referring to natural gas or liquid. It applies to both. Our ordinance applies to both types of pipelines. So it's not like we're putting our head in the sand, and this has been in existence for a good while. It'll be based on the characteristics of the pipeline and the surrounding area. That's an important thing. You was requested to go look at a pipeline incident down south. And in that area down south, they have soil movement. Brookings County historically has not had any massive soil movements and things like that. So to me, you're looking at apples and oranges, and when you need to be looking at apples and apples. But we would look at the surrounding area. The planning zones, a corridor in which risk-based land management decisions may have potential benefits in protecting pipelines, mitigating the immediate consequences of a pipeline incident, and facilitating emergency response to a potential transmission pipeline incident. And then ordinance also talks about a consultation zone. The consultation zone's a set. People always want setbacks. A consultation zone is a set number of 660 feet from each side of the transmission pipeline, which defines when a property developer or owner who is planning a new development in the vicinity should initiate dialogue with the transmission pipeline operator. And this is designed to protect both the landowner wanting to build near the pipeline and the pipeline itself. It doesn't restrict anyone from building near their pipeline. It's just when a pipeline goes in, whether it's natural gas or liquid, they do have a right-of-way that they typically purchase, and there's certain things that cannot be done up against. You can't grow an oak tree on top of a pipeline because the roots of an oak tree will go right through and damage the pipeline. And all that's put in place in the agreements between landowners and the pipeline companies. So our ordinance doesn't restrict anything from a citizen or a company, either one, dealing with the pipelines. And any questions on our particular ordinance? We passed the ordinance in 2009. We actually got a federal grant from the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration in 2008 to develop the pipeline ordinance. And we do have it put in use. our natural gas pipelines, we've got a good example that reviews nationwide of a farm. There's a barn right next to the natural gas pipeline, and they wanted to lay a concrete pad over the natural gas pipeline, and they worked with the pipeline company, and the pipeline company allowed it, as long as if the pipe needs to be removed, there's an agreement between the pipeline company and the owner of the property on how to take care of that situation. So I don't feel our ordinance is restrictive, and I don't feel our ordinance is not paying attention to the citizens' needs.
Bob, has there been any applications for permits applied for in Brookings County?
Not at this time. I mean, once we get the application, then we would apply our ordinance, and we'd start asking the hard questions, exactly what, when, and where, and obviously, the planning board, Brookings County Zoning Commission would be the first one to tackle it. And then if there's any right-of-way issues and stuff like that, then of course that comes to this level. So I feel, yeah, right now it's everything's talk. We've got nothing in stone, and the CO2 pipeline company has contacted my office, and it sounds like they want to start a dialogue, but then the state laws and everything passed, so they backed off. As of right now, I've got no contact with the pipeline company, CO2 company specifically.
Do you know if any neighboring counties had any issues or anything with the pipeline?
Well, I checked with Lake County. Lake County's got what we had in our old ordinance, which is basically we allow pipelines. And the only time that in the old ordinance that we had, they'd go through the Public Utilities Commission, they'd lay their pipeline, and it's allowable. It's an allowable use in our ordinance. It could be a conditional use permit depending on, but in Lake County, the only time they'd go through a conditional use permit is the above-ground facilities, such as up in Dole County. They've got a transfer station where Brookings County is hooked into it. In Brookings County, we have no above-ground pipeline. Well, we got a couple small pumping stations. Those would be conditional use permits on a pipeline.
Bob, just a
And
quick
Moody-
question on Summit's proposal hasn't been presented to the PUC as of now, anyway. Will we become a participant once that's filed again?
By all means.
Yeah, and I think the public needs to understand that we will have all the information that Summit gives to the PUC as it comes to light, so to speak. So we'll have the opportunity to review all those materials. As the PUC looks at it, we will also have the ability to look at it.
That is
as a party.
correct. The policy of this county commission, since I've been on board for 21 years as the planning and zoning person, has been if there's a public utilities commission action, we sign on as a interested party, so we get all correspondence emailed to us on an action, whether it's wind towers, pipelines, or big substations. And of course, Moody County does have their own ordinance. They passed an ordinance in 2023 that they go into a lot more detail. And one thing, the federal government dictates the safety of pipelines. They don't necessarily dictate how many inches in the ground and all that. What they do is they ensure that the pipe is the proper thickness, and that, you know, if someone says, well, pipelines break, true, I could show you all kinds of examples of pipelines breaking. I can also show you where bridges fall down and things like that. So all I ask is that the commission look at apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and we'll stay in touch or abreast of the situation, and as it progresses, we'll keep the county commission informed.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks
Any-
for clarifying that.
Any other questions? Have a great day.
You got a question, Dan, with the referred law 21. What's your take on that, or your brief explanation?
Yeah, so referred law 21 is a petition that was circulated and we'll all vote on in November. A vote yes on referred law 21 is to keep Senate Bill 201 as current South Dakota law, and then a vote no on referred 21 is to I guess, kill Senate Bill 201, so that it would be to overturn Senate Bill 201 is a vote no. So Senate Bill 201 is a bill that was signed into law by the governor. It went into effect July 1st of this year, and this was in response to the pipelines, the debate here in South Dakota. We could talk probably at length about this law, but just some brief sort of highlights of this bill. So this bill provides a sort of a structure for these pipelines to be implemented here in South Dakota. I think one of the more controversial aspects of pipelines is the issue of eminent domain. And for the listening public that doesn't know what eminent domain is, it just gives the federal government, state governments, the ability to use private land for various infrastructure initiatives. And the government obviously has to show that the private land has a public use that's important, and then the government can purchase that private land for fair market value with or without the landowner's consent. It involves litigation, just as the pipeline issue would be here. But prior to Senate Bill 201 and after, the eminent domain issue remains the same. And so the federal government, because this is a federal project, can still use eminent domain here in South Dakota to build pipelines. That didn't change with this law, and it wouldn't change if it goes into effect or doesn't go into effect. Eminent domain is just something that's been on the books for, years and years here in the U.S. One of the things that Senate Bill 201 does do is it allows counties to create a fee structure for these pipelines to pay on a per linear foot. And then it also provides property tax relief for the owners that do have pipelines going through their county. A lot of the headlines regarding this bill talked about landowner rights. At the bottom of this bill, it kind of goes through what those landowner rights are. One of the other primary issues with this bill was all of the permitting and restrictions go through the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, which is the state commission. And so counties, Brookings County, Moody County, the other counties that are going to deal with this pipeline, they can't deny a permit, or they can't create a burdensome restriction process through their county ordinances. That all goes through the PUC. So prior to this bill, some counties could create such a restriction that maybe wouldn't allow a pipeline or create extravagant fees for these pipelines. With this bill, counties no longer can do that. All the restrictions and all the permitting goes through the PUC. So it's a statewide agency out in Pierre that decides what those fees and what those restrictions are. And so I think there's probably a question right now, like whether the Moody County ordinance or some of these other ordinances that have been passed last year before this bill was debated and went into effect, whether or not those ordinances are unnecessarily restrictive or can still be upheld. I think there's probably an open legal question about that because the PUC has to decide whether or not a pipeline is going to be built within your county. And so I think there's probably still a lot that has to be decided at the local level in terms of, whether the PUC is going to allow this pipeline to be built. One of the big debates that happened, last year when these pipeline companies were presenting to the PUC was whether or not they had properly created mitigation efforts in the event something did go wrong. And the PUC is going to have to continue to do that in these application cycles. I know Barley just talked about the fact that they're going to have to go back and before the PUC and establish all of this again. So again, a vote yes would be to keep 201, a vote no, or excuse me, a vote yes would be to do away with 201, and a vote no would be to keep it. So I think we can maybe post this on the website if the listening public wants to click on this bill. And then I guess I can stand by for questions for any of the commissioners or the public has on this particular issue.
Thank you. We do have a scheduled 9 o'clock agenda item. Move on to a public hearing and action to approve resolution number 24-35, adoption of the 2025 provisional budget for Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. I would now open a public hearing. Is there any proponents? Is there any proponents that would like to speak to this matter? Any opponents? Is there any opponents that like to speak to this matter? With that, I would close the public hearing and entertain comments from the board. Any comments from the board?
We've been working on this since, or the commission kind of started with budget hearings back in June. This is the provisional budget time to look at this. There may be some changes between this budget and the annual budget, which will be approved at the next meeting on September 24th. Usually we get some utility numbers and some things in before the annual budget, so it may change things a little bit, usually not too much. But basically what is in front of you is a balanced budget across all of our funds.
Okay, I'd like to thank all the staff for working on this. It was kind of a long process, but it'd be noted that the highway department, we did sacrifice and we did some alternative maintenance procedures to make it through this year, the high cost of fuel and oil. But we're moving forward. We reduced a few miles of overlay and some seal coat miles, but we did come out in the end. It's, I think it'll still maintain our infrastructure. We have continued with our bridge program, continue to move forward on that, and that kind of added to not as many miles of our county roads that were seal coated or paved. Any other commission?
Just take notice there, our mill levy is down to 3.497, when normally it's right around that 4 for the last 10 years or so. So there's a significant drop in the mill levy here, which is nice to see. Stuff too, obviously assessed values and growth have allowed for more taxable value, and that's why it's gone down. But it's nice to see the mill levy dropping for taxpayers here on their property, so that's nice to see.
Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Hostler?
Aye.
Vanderwall?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to regular business. Action to approve resolution number 24-36, a resolution setting vote center locations for countywide elections. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This is a resolution to modify the list for Brookings County. In Aurora, previously we used the fire hall. Our past experience, 2 reasons: the weather. We think that having the election in November at the fire hall might be a little chilly. And also, it did require one of the firemen to be there all day long. So the Aurora Impact Church was gracious enough to offer their church for elections. We did go over and inspect the church, and it does meet everything that we would need. So this is just to clean up that list and replace the fire hall with the Aurora Impact Church. And then I also included the addresses this time.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Hostler?
Aye.
Vanderwall?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, action to approve agreement number 24-73, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Preston Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval? Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item C, action to approve agreement number 24-74, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Preston Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item D, action approve agreement number 24-75, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Argo Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item E, action to approve agreement number 24-76, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Brookings Dual Rural Water System in Eureka Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item F, discussion and possible action to approve funding for the Chamber of Commerce Public Affairs Task Force National Civics B Initiative. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Uh,
I have a motion and a second. Comments?
So as part of that discussion, you'll need to talk about a funding level with this. But basically, the chamber had reached out about a possible county donation for this public affairs initiative, Civics B. This encourages young Americans to engage in civics and contribute to their communities. It's for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to test their civics knowledge. They can win prizes here at the local, state, and national levels. In our public relations budget line, we have $950 right now that is unspoken for. Just kind of looking at past years, what we've done, what we've spent that money on in the past. I'm assuming there will still be an ask coming from Christmas Cops and Kids, so that's why I say we have $950 that's unspoken for that typically is not used. So, yeah, that's that. The commission would need to decide if this is something that they want to help fund. I think, for 2025, since the budget is already set, it is kind of what it is, but if in 26 moving forward, if this is something that the chamber is going to do on an annual basis, make this part of their, just their annual funding request as well. And I've had some conversations just briefly with Kelsey Doom at the chamber, just kind of via email, that might be a possibility, but since we're already past the 2025 budget period, we'd be looking out a little bit further yet, so.
Was there a dollar amount suggested, or?
The ask included a $1,000 ask.
But you mentioned that the Cops for Kids, that we already are.
We haven't gotten that request yet, but
Okay.
that usually comes in, a little bit later here, probably October, November. And last year, the commission gave $1,000 for that.
And so the 950
Is basically what's remaining in that public
After.
relations after the Christmas Cops and Kids, yeah.
I just would like to mention that the NACO, National Association of County Officials, has a program they've started this year, and I apologize, I don't have the specifics with me, but basically what it involves is commissioners, county commissioners, going into the school districts and civics classes and spending a day talking, or a class of all the classes, talking about county government and becoming involved in this civic leadership on a more personal level with the county commissioners, where this is actually a national program, and I have not seen it, but they have their materials and resources. NACO's is a little bit more specific with county officials doing some work, basically going out into the school districts and offering that educational opportunity. And I think it would be a great opportunity for us to look at NACO's program. It's well thought out, and it's been well received so far where it's been used. Just a thought, not necessarily supplement this, maybe, but we should be doing more.
We have a motion to,
Well, I was just thinking in my head, maybe we do 500 rather than 1,000, since we have 950, there. That means we'd go over our budget. And then if this continues on, we could budget for more down the road if we decide we wanted to. If this continues on and is popular and works well, we could maybe increase it, but I'd make a motion for $500.
I'll second that motion.
I get a motion, a second, to fund the National Civics Bee Initiative by $500 from Commissioner Krogman, second by Vanderwall. Any other comments?
That would be an amendment to the first motion then.
What's that?
Because there was a motion on the floor to approve this, so Krogman's
Okay,
500 would be an
amendment.
amendment, yeah.
For $500. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call a roll, please.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Amendment carries.
Okay. We call the roll on the main motion.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Main motion as amended carried.
Okay. Item G, action approve a request to fill vacancy for a deputy sheriff. Do I have a motion approve?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 9, Commission Department Directors Report.
Okay, so included with my report were the 2024 SDACC proposed resolutions and policy statement revisions. These will get voted on at the general business session out at Fall Convention in Rapid City here coming up in a couple of weeks. The county gets one vote, so for those of you, that plan to attend, you'll need to decide, or I'll decide here as a group, what you think on those. Keep in mind that there is a caucus the evening before the general business session, so you get together with your 10 county or Sioux Valley Commission group, those 10 counties, and discuss these, and there's, some questions and answers and stuff for a time for that. So I'm not asking you to maybe necessarily look at those today and decide now, because there's maybe some additional information that you'll get when you are out in Rapid City, but wanted you to have those, make sure that you take a look at those so you know kind of what the business meeting will be dealing with here in a couple of weeks. We did receive a letter from Minnehaha County, the JDC. That is also included with my report. Their projected daily bed rate is $497.80 beginning January 1. That letter also included some information on their construction project, some updates on that. The Research Park report was also included as part of my staff report. That comes out a couple times a year, so wanted to include that in my report. And then the only other things we have coming up are just a the upcoming dates to note, this Wednesday, tomorrow, is our SDACC monthly membership Zoom call. I think you should have received information on that. If not, let me know. I can send you that link. That'll be at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Then we have convention, as I had mentioned, here in a couple of weeks out in Rapid City. That does mean that we pushed the second commission meeting back an extra week, so there'll be a 3-week break here between now and the next meeting. Won't be till the 24th. Did get an invitation to the Aurora Firefighter Appreciation Supper and Social on September 19th. We also got information that didn't make it into the packet. It came later than that, but the Hobo Day Committee is asking again for an RSVP for the Hobo Day Parade. That's Saturday, October 12th. I know in the past, you've participated in that. Is there interest in doing a float or getting a car or not? I think maybe last year you did not. I can't remember. Usually you have, but I think maybe you skipped a year.
I'll be out of town.
Okay.
I am as well.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be out of town.
Okay.
At a race.
Ca-
You
Do
drive me
you
crazy
guys
out
want to,
yourself, huh?
I mean, do you want to walk through just the two of you, if it's
I
just
gotta
the two
check
of
my
you?
schedule, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, let me know, because I need to RSVP here. It's a little time yet to RSVP, but let me know. And then, just kind of looking out into October, you can see those other dates. Offices will be closed on October 14th for Native American Day. Department head evaluations, I know I've mentioned that the last couple of times. Just make sure that you have those on your calendar, as that'll be a Tuesday afternoon exec session. And then just a few other things. I think I've RSVP'd for most of you for the DACTRON, the Chamber's Legislative Roundtable, October 23rd. So that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
Just a quick clarification on the SDACC proposed resolutions and policies PDF that you received. I did participate as a board member in putting those resolutions and policies together. In particular, the policies was one of the committees I was on. So if you read any of those, you've got any questions, you want to know some of the background before we get out there, give me a call and we'll look them over. But as Stacy had said, there will be a caucus the evening before. We don't generally have that caucus meeting to be a big affair, but it might be this year. So, do that. And as far as the vote is concerned, it's always been the chairman who casts a vote for Brookings County. Without objection.
What's that?
You get to cast our vote.
Oh.
The chair usually always casts a vote.
The resolutions are similar to what we went over at the 10-county meeting, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Those are the proposed resolutions, and then they were further refined a little bit on that afternoon, or the next day, on Thursday, Wednesday night and Thursday after your meeting. So those were the rough drafts, and then they were refined a little bit further on Wednesday night and Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Mike. All right. Item number 10 is State's Attorney's Office report.
Yeah, just a few things. So Grant Wonder has accepted a position with our office for Deputy State's Attorney. He's coming from Coddington County, where he served as Deputy State's Attorney. So he's set to start the 16th, so here in a couple weeks. So we're excited to have him join our office. And then the second thing is, we've been working very closely with all the school districts here in Brookings County to develop our truancy program. And I think I may have Amy from our office maybe come and present to the commission here at the next meeting, kind of what we're doing that's very unique compared to what other places are doing in terms of our truancy program. We kind of piloted this program last year, and as a result of our work with Brookings Behavioral, the school districts, we saw our truancy referrals just like plummet. So I know it's working. It's more of a family approach where our office meets with the parents, mental health providers, law enforcement, as well as school district officials, whether it's the principal, vice principal, dean of students, and we kind of all collectively come together prior to us bringing them into court. And so it's been very, I think, beneficial for everyone, the students, the parents. You know, it cuts down on the districts and law enforcement having to deal with some of these issues. So it's been positive. And so I think just to kind of keep the commission apprised of that, I may have us come together and maybe do a presentation. And I think the listening public, I think, might be interested in that as well. So maybe we'll do that later on this fall. But just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And it cuts down on court costs and everything. So it's been a win-win. So we're excited to go into this school semester, kind of continuing on that success.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner reports and discussion items. Commissioner Vanderwall.
Thank you. Just one meeting I attended was on Tuesday, August 27th, the Samara Avenue project meeting. Going well. There will be a public meeting coming up soon for that. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Bartley.
All right, August 20th, just one meeting, the BEDC meeting. Again, planning for the future for the BEDC and how it works with the city on its different projects and its different approaches, and I think it's going really well. It seems like they're finally getting all their staffing up to speed. So that completes my report.
Commissioner Krogman.
Had a few meetings, 26th at Brookings Health meeting. Things are going very well there. And then on the 27th, we had a Research Park Board meeting and went over a lot of things there moving forward and strategic planning wise for the future of that board. And then on the 28th, I had a beta meeting. The appraisal on the building, again, at our highway department has been done, and it's at the state level, was approved at the state level, now at the feds. And I asked about what they thought. They're still using the building because they're still doing work on their new building and stuff like that. So they're cleaning and washing vehicles still there. But they're thinking that everything should be done here in October, and would be looking at November as a potential opportunity for us to do something for that building if we want to. So something before the end of the year for sure, but November is kind of on the radar screen right now where they would be done using it, and they have the washer there. They got to get that moved out, but otherwise that's kind of something on our radar maybe we could look at. So, and then I'll get a copy of the appraisal and get it to everybody. That's it.
Commissioner Osler.
Yeah, so I also attended the BEDC board meeting, but via Zoom on the 21st, and then on the 27th, I attended the Research Park board meeting, as well as on the 29th, we had the domestic abuse shelter meeting. Those are the meetings that I attended. I would just like to note for the listening public, during phone calls and stuff to commissioners, I think it would be, just as you identify here at our meetings, make sure you leave your name and phone number to be able to receive callbacks so that we don't know that those calls are spam. That is my report.
Okay, on August 26th in the evening, 6 o'clock, I attended the Toronto Power Plant Local Review Committee. It's a new plant being built supposedly northeast of Toronto on the Brant Road up there, which would be a natural gas fuel generation plant. It would fueled by natural gas backed up with fuel oil backup to run. It'd be 7 or 8 large units, 145 megawatt combustible engines. To get a handle on how big these would be, these engines weigh about 500 ton. They're 62 feet long and 30 feet high and enclosed in a building, and basically the electricity would be hooked right into the substation up there by Astoria. Brookings County was included. Mainly, we're within the certain radius of the area. but also transportation issues. Formerly, when they unloaded these large engines, they came in on by rail, which supposedly might be coming through Aurora, be unloaded and then transported up there. And also for the influx of housing construction employees for a 2-year period when this is being built. So we had an initial meeting, we elected a chairman, will be future meetings in the future, but this was just the beginning and presentation was made. On August 27th at 10 o'clock in the morning, we had a tabletop exercise over at the ethanol plant, Aurora. It was a scenario that that if a tornado would happen to hit the rail cars, and we went through different scenarios there. Bob and the ethanol plant personnel did a good demonstration. It was well attended. The room was full. It was good discussion, and we wrapped that up around 12:30, 1 o'clock. At 2:30, we had our Samara Avenue project, kind of doing some revisions and final draft before we host a public meeting, hopefully here in the near future. So that's moving along. With that, that's all I have. Item number 12, we recess as a Board of County Commissioners, and we would convene as the Brookings County Drainage Board. We have an item, discussion and possible action on the Madera Township Big Sioux River Diversion Dike. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Comments? Bob?
Good morning again, Drainage Board. I sent out a staff report on this. And I sent out 3 attachments. We'll cover the first attachment. Dated February 23, 2019, it gives you a snapshot of what went on from the beginning. We had a meeting on February 23rd, and Mr. Gilbertson from the East Dakota Water Development District, he led the discussion, explaining what was going on in Section 9, Madera Township, north of the Big Sioux River Bridge on 216th, and the dike was breached by high water flow in 2011, allowing the Big Sioux to flow to the west instead of its original channel. We started monitoring it then. Mr. Eggerbrotten, who was the Brookings County Highway Superintendent at that time, approached my office and was saying that there's some scouring under the smaller bridge of the two, and we had a lot of word of mouth, and people saying this and people saying that, and so the county commission at that time had a discussion and decided we would at least start the study to see what it would take to put it back into the channel and put our flow rates back to approximately the 2009 rate. So we contracted with Banner's Associate, engineering firm in Brookings, and that brings us up to August the 9th when we had a series of reports, and they kept reporting to us, and they contacted all the landowners who had federal easements in the area, and because the concern was that the Natural Conservation and Resource Services at the federal level there was a lot of wetland easements to the south of this particular area. So at that time, Banners put us on a path to look at all the easements. Come to find out, we didn't necessarily need to look at all the easements. And at the August the 9th meeting, we had a public hearing, meeting, not a hearing, a public meeting. And it was demonstrated to us that we wouldn't have to necessarily worry about any of the easements downstream. Our big issue is the easement right there where the break in the berm was at the time. And a series of questions was asked, and we had a good turnout at the time. And Banner's associate took the questions that were brought up at the time and some of the discussion and assembled a report to us. And the final support, initially, the prices ranged in the millions and millions of dollars, but not counting the actual physical cost of the proposed structure, looks like it comes in at, rounded off to the nearest 10,000 level, would be $180,000. And, of course, prior to committing to that, I'm sure there would be that's actually, the $180,000 is strictly the construction part, whether or not there's, well, they got some engineering dollars in that proposal, so I would have to assume that that would be the cost of it, would be the $180,000. And what we are looking for is the thoughts of the drainage board, and where do we go from here?
Bob, that 180,000, that's an engineer's estimate. With the bid could come in less or more. Or
That is correct, of course. And that's using 2023 South Dakota Department of Transportation bid prices. So
okay,
absolutely, the price could fluctuate.
no.
So our action today is not necessarily to approve 180,000, but to approve going out for bid. Because we don't know for sure until we get the bids, and then at that point, we either approve it, and that's our...
It's basically to move forward to the bid, to the process, to get to the
motion
process.
today is not the amount, but to move
If
forward.
you want to move forward, we will have to go through the commission department head and prepare the request for proposal and get the bids in and probably talk to the landowner, who owns the land, get that agreement in writing. Right now, I don't think that agreement's in writing, and there's a few steps before we would commit to doing it. I would want to see that agreement.
Right.
And of course, we have to work at the state's attorney's office to make sure that agreement's ironclad. And right now, the only project they got going on is getting me a manual on how to maintain the structure. So I guess what the action I need today is that you direct me to continue on and get it to the point where we can send it to request for proposal, up to the point where I request for proposal, and then I bring it back to the board. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought up a good point as far as the maintenance of this project for years to come. The responsibility of the county, responsibility of landowners, responsibility jointly between the landowners and the county. I think that's a discussion that needs to be had somewhere before the RFP goes out.
That manual is being constructed at this time as we speak, and as soon as I get it, I would send it to the drainage board.
We have briefly discussed that. We would need a construction easement from the landowner, which Bob had a verbal, and then we also would need a maintenance agreement and a maintenance easement to be able to go in and do the maintenance. At our former meeting, we kind of agreed on who would be inspecting the structure and who would actually be doing the maintenance of the structure also. As we move forward, Bob will get that in writing and present that to the board. So.
Yeah, with your permission, that means I'm allowed to go up to the point where ready for request for proposal. I would bring the request to you guys to review it before we actually send it out.
Yep. So, sounds like a plan.
Is there any other discussion?
Are we looking for a motion then?
We had a motion to approve. Got a second. Just any other comments? I guess, how I'm in favor of a move forward. The cost has came down considerably from when we first started on this project many years ago. It looks like we're actually getting to the point where we can possibly get this done. So, any other comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Hassler?
Aye.
Vanderwall?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, sir. Board?
I'd now entertain a motion to adjourn as the Brookings County Drainage Board.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 15 will reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. And item number 16 is executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 1, personnel. Motion to enter into executive session.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Or executive session. We'll have a brief recess before we go in there.